What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Pitts from Pitts and Push Sports Talk Radio, Pitt Sports Zone, Bowie TV Sports, Comcast Channel 77, Verizon Channel 11. I'm here with the one and only Coach K Jack, Bowie State Bulldogs head football coach. Bite down.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, man. You know, it's always a pleasure when we link up, man.
It's a long time coming, man. So, but last year when we spoke, we spoke in regards, you were the interim head coach, and this year everything became more official. How did that feel? What were your thoughts and emotions behind it?
Man, it was surreal, kind of like when everything first transpired. Being able to be in this position and people believing in me to be in this position, man. I can't even say it's a dream come true because it was never really an aspiration to be a head coach, but when it came about, it was one of those things that I naturally gravitated towards. So having this opportunity, man, it's a blessing, especially being 34 years old, being the youngest head coach in HBCU football and one of the youngest in collegiate sports, man. It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
So for it to not have been a dream or aspiration of yours, it suits you well. And I can see why, the AD and the school, decided to go in your direction because, your leadership is contagious. When you talk culture, you don't only preach the culture, you try to walk the line of the culture.
Absolutely.
So, you lead by example, but then you also expect, when out of line, you expect to follow, you expect others to follow.
Absolutely.
And the team has, responded well, regardless, there's always going to be naysayers, but from my perspective on the outside looking in, I understand, I see why, they tabbed you the next head coach because of all of the attributes that you bring with doing so. So
I appreciate that.
Congratulations to you for that, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And this year you guys start out, you right now we're at 3-1.
Yes, sir.
Davenport was the only loss. That game could have went the other way, but the team responded well. What are your thoughts in regards to how they responded since Davenport? And then we can go back a little bit before Davenport after that.
Got you. Well, one thing I always remind the guys is it's always us, never them. All right. And what that means is, we focus on being the best version of ourselves before we worry about anybody else. I believe we have the talent to be the best team on the field, regardless of who it is, when we're playing our game. Yes. When we start to worry about everybody else and let outside factors get in the mix of what we're trying to do, we have issues, So it's really not about what anybody else is doing. It's about what Bowie State football is doing. And when we play our brand of football, we're the best team on the field. So the guys have responded tremendously since Davenport because it wasn't a good feeling. That was a game that we fell short. However, when you turn the ball over 5 times, it's hard to win a football game. However, we only lost that game by 5 points. So, we were right where we're supposed to be. We just didn't finish. So, that was one of the things that we focused on the next few weeks was just getting back to the basics, doing what we do well, protecting the football, and trying to play our brand of football. That's it.
And when you talk about being your brand of football, when someone says, when you see Bowie State, they identify as this, what is that one thing that you want the footprint across the CIAA to say, when Bowie State is here, this is our brand of football. This is what you expect to see and get.
You're going to get some hard-nosed football. Like I said, we're gonna play hard defense. We're going to physical. We're going to hit you in your mouth. And then offense, like I say, right now we're still trying to get our feet up under us and get it going. However, those guys are going to play hard. It's a lot of talent on that side of the ball. However, if you understand offense and how it works, it's about timing, and making sure everything is gelling. So we're still trying to get that perfect mix. But we've shown flashes of greatness on that side of the ball. So once we get it going, I have no doubt in my mind that we'll be the best offense when it comes to Saturdays. But however, our defense is playing very well right now, which is helping us be successful.
We'll touch on the dark side later. We'll talk more about the light show. And as you said, that continuity growing within each other. Who are your leaders that you look forward to whenever the offense are going through that you're looking for them to step up? And they're the leaders, the captains on that offense that will be like, all right, listen, we need to right this ship for them to take lead and for the players to follow them. Because as a coach, it's easy for a coach to talk,
Absolutely.
But you have the players follow players as well, and especially lead by example. Who are those players that you look forward to?
Well, one of the guys who stand out the most is Keyshawn Hinckley, a returner for us. He was listed as first team all conference last year and was voted preseason all conference coming into this year. He's having a successful year so far. But he's a guy that leads by example, and everybody respects him because of the work that he put in. So when he gets going, he's not a man of many words. So when he speak with a purpose. So having a guy like him around is great to anybody program. He's a great asset. Then you talk about the offensive line. You have a Caleb Chester, who's a transfer guy, going into a second year with us. He's another guy that works hard, but also speaks when he needs to. So when those two guys kind of get going, I think we have the best ability, well, we have the best opportunity to be successful as an offense. So those are two guys that I lean on a lot from an offensive standpoint, and both of them are my captains for this year from the offensive side as well.
And when you talk about Caleb and the offensive line, Caleb is the center for the Bulldogs. And you talk about his communication. The difference between 12 Vaughn, in my opinion, Vaughn don't really talk a lot. He gonna show you.
Absolutely.
He's not going to talk. He's not going to give you a bunch of words. He's just
Mhm.
going to show you how to do it. Where Caleb, he'll kind of go through and do both.
Mhm.
So when I'm hearing before pre-snap and during play, you can see him pointing out. You hear it when he come off the field and they're on the on a bench and they're talking about whether or not it was a good series or
Mhm.
not. Once the coaches talk and once the coaches go over what they see, what they don't see, you see him standing talking to the offensive line, trying to coach them up, or not
Absolutely.
necessarily coach them up, but provide that leadership that you're expecting from them.
Absolutely. Caleb is he's a great football player. However, he's a better person. He's a guy that truly represents what it is to be a Bowie State Bulldog. And having him only here for 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
he's been a great asset to the program outside of what we do on the field from a community service standpoint, from a weight room standpoint, and being around on campus. Like I say, he has right now he's working an internship with the communication department. Getting
Okay.
some experience there because he has the aspiration on possibly being a reporter or sportscaster, thing like that. So
Okay.
he's, like I say, an even better person. So and that translates to the field to allow him to lead and guys to
Yeah.
follow. So he's been a pleasure to have in the program these past 2 years.
And when we transition over to your defense, and we talk about when they say offense wins games, defense wins championships.
Absolutely.
And it more so pertains to your defense is a championship caliber defense. I mean, for the last two games, it's been donuts at halftime.
Right.
And regardless of situational football, whether it's a botch punt or 3 and out, regardless of how long they're on the field, they never wear down. There's always you expect lapses after a certain
Right.
time,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
but it still seems that even with them being on the field for so long, they're still dominant from the first kickoff, from the first snap to the last. Can you speak more in depth in regards to your defense?
Well, we don't call them the dark side for nothing. We kind of prepare ourselves like that though, mentally. Like I say, I'm a defensive guy. I played in the dark side defense, coached in it as well. So the expectations for those guys is the ceiling is high, and it comes with the culture of it is you pay your dues and then you get your opportunity. So you talk about the starting four DBs
Mhm.
on that side. All of those guys were role players in 2021. They had the opportunity to
Right.
grow into starters
Right.
last year. Now going into the second year starters, you can see the growth and the camaraderie amongst those guys. Then you talk about on the front line as well, the D line. All those guys were red shirt role players. So you talk about the years that they have within the scheme of things. And like I said, with Coach Williams taking over, he's kind of still instilling the same values that has been instilled prior to him being here, prior to me being here, prior to Coach Sewell being here. The same mentality into those guys and continue to do it. And they continue to uphold tradition like they should.
And then you could like when I say didn't miss a beat. So last year, you lose a Joshua Pryor, right?
Mm-hmm.
You lose a Ray Boone in the back end.
Mm-hmm.
You move Twin to safety,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to keep that safety. So then you have Cam Blunt, I
Yep.
believe, who transferred, and then a Michael.
Mm-hmm.
I don't pronounce his last name
Salad
correctly,
Houdini.
so I don't try to. But when you look at the pieces that we lost last year, and then you like, okay, these are fillers that we need. It seems like those two guys have gelled well. they even look like they've been playing with your defense for some time.
Mm-hmm.
The way they, their tenacity of getting off the
Mm-hmm.
ball. Can you talk about the addition of them two for me?
Well, both of them, like I say, since coming in, the biggest thing about us is understanding your role and knowing your role, all right, and then playing your role. All right, Salahuddin, he is a guy that is kind of like a hybrid player. So he plays, he's a DB that could play outside linebacker, which is like the same
Uh-huh.
position for us. He's athletic in space. He's physical. So he's physical enough to play in the run, but also athletic enough where we need to man him up. He can do that as well. So he's doing a great job accepting that role and playing it well. Cam Blunt is a guy transferred from us from the University of Maryland. He was a linebacker, outside linebacker that played defensive end some. So we kind of been rotating him in between the two positions. I'm just trying to find the best way to get him comfortable.
Right.
But he's been a great asset for us at the defensive end position, especially to the guys that we already have. You talk about a Cam Proctor who was into
Uh-huh.
the program last year. UL Paul, who was leading us in sacks last year with 9.5 sacks,
Yeah.
so you add him to the mix with some guys who came around like a Shawan Lewis. Um, those guys, like I said, as a unit, they work well together. And they're showing. Like I said, we're in the country. I want to say we might be top 15 in tackle for losses right now. So still got some work to do, but these guys are showing, exhilarating what it is to be dog side defense.
And when you talk about Shawana and Uvel, watching them, I mean, not Uvel, I'm sorry, but Uvel was dominant last year.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at Tableau and when I
Mm-hmm.
look at Shawan and I
Mm-hmm.
watch their play,
Mm-hmm.
even in that game, the last game where Ty didn't feel like he was having a good game,
Mm-hmm.
for him to make that play when it was needed, those are the moments where, regardless of how the first 48 minutes of the game was
Absolutely.
gone, is how you finish it. And
Right.
he finished it strong, which he, contributed to a big play for the defense. You know, the defense to me has all, is like I compare it to the Steelers, you know, except for y'all a little better on offense than we are. But when you talk, when your strong suit, you know your strong suit.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless of situational play, regardless of what flip of the field they're on, the defense, even this week, you guys, defense playing tough. We give up a big pass play. They get 7 points. They kick it off. They get a fumble. Defense never flinched,
Absolutely.
and it speaks volumes to the coaching. Speaks volumes to the discipline, of the defense. But and in general, it speaks volumes to the program,
Absolutely.
and it speaks volumes to your leadership.
Absolutely.
And your mantra this year is culture. Can you
Absolutely.
talk a little bit more about why that was the mantra for your team this year?
Well, it was that. So culture is an acronym.
Right.
For those who don't know, it stands for commitment, unity, leadership, trust, understanding, respect, and effort. With the transition last year, from the outside looking in, a lot of people might not have looked at it like it was a lot of pieces that were lost. However, you talk about losing 5 to 6 coaches that was a part of building that championship pedigree. You lose about 6 or 7 guys to Division I schools due to the transfer portal. We lost a lot of pieces. And along the way last year, when I sat back and assessed what was going on, it was pretty much the culture was affected by the change. So
Yes.
my idea going into the off season was I needed to put the culture back to where it needed to be. And that's just a winning mentality, doing the small things right. So that was kind of my mindset. And like I say, everything is borrowed. I seen someone post uh, culture and talk about it, and there was a few wrinkles that I switched up, but those 7 things will get us to where we need to be if we follow those things. So you got to be committed to the goal. Unity. We got to play together on all 3 phases in order for us to be where we want to be. You got to have leaders. All right, your best teams are player led, not coach led. Then you talk about trust. You got to trust the guy next to you in order for you to be successful. Then
Absolutely.
understanding as a leader or as a teammate, you got to understand your teammates and how to be able to get them going. Respect take you a long way. And at the end of the day, effort. That's between you and you. That ain't nobody else. You got to make sure you put your effort in to match what your teammate is doing.
Again, this is why they tabbed him the head coach for the Bulldogs. Again, first of many. Right now we're trying to forge a more strong relationship with Bowie TV Sports Band. That is a city TV station.
Mm-hmm.
Give more coverage to the Bulldogs. Your boy Pitts, Coach Jackson, Bowie State University head coach, going down.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. I appreciate y'all.
Pits and Push Sports Talk Radio, Pit Sports Zone, Bowie TV, coming at you.